Ah, shucks, guys, you don't gotta keep on doing this for me. Please, y'all don't have to keep on giving me layups to make the most ridiculous videos of all time. Because last week, we talked about the idea of the Montreal Canadiens trading away Lane Hutson. And guess what? It was the folks over on BPM Sports Talk Radio who had that idea and who brought it up. I'm just the messenger. I see things that are talked about in the media, and I'm like, hey, that's a crazy idea. Let's talk about it here on our YouTube channel, and the same folks who did that are coming onto the show once again and talking about yet another ridiculous, yet still discussion-worthy, I guess you could say, conversation. So, I'll leave a link in the description to this video posted on the BPM Sports Radio Twitter account. It goes over a conversation had with Matthias Brunet and the BPM crew, and the video is in French, but if you take the description and you translate it from French into English, it goes out there and asks the question, would you trade Cole Caufield and your first-round pick this year for Macklin Celebrini? Matthias Brunet knew what he was doing. Now, what exactly did he know he was doing? Yeah, he knew he was starting a fire amongst the Montreal Canadiens listener base who tunes into the radio show and engages with the questions at hand. And hey, I'm not a part of that listener base. I don't have BPM Sports Talk Radio here in Vancouver. I can't even understand most French without subtitles. But when it comes to this idea, yeah, you got me responding over here too, and a bunch of other Canadiens fans responded as well. There were 93 replies. Some of them angry, some of them a little bit calmer, but a lot of them pretty much saying the same thing. Like, no, I don't think that would really do. I wouldn't do it. Gotta believe in Caufield, whatever. So let's dissect this idea and break down the whys and the why nots for Montreal. The idea is Cole Caufield, along with the Montreal Canadiens' current first-round pick, which at the time of recording this audio lies roughly in the 6th overall spot. Let's just assume for, giving a range on these things, let's say 6th to 9th overall. Would you trade Caufield and this top pick for the first overall pick, which would inevitably use to draft Macklin Celebrini? Now, firstly, we have to say, when it comes to trading for the first overall pick, rarely is there ever a kind of move that would actually get it done. Normally, when teams have the first overall pick, they grip onto it like Gorilla Glue. They don't want to let this go from their hands, and usually any sort of conceivable package is not conceivable enough to the first overall holding team. Like, the Montreal Canadiens could say, okay, here, Caufield in a first, take it or leave it, but the team that has the first overall pick would be like, no, we're not even thinking about that. So the question also happens to be whether or not the team who's drafting first overall would be willing to drop, let's say, 7 spots and get a Cole Caufield in return. Right now, Cole Caufield probably has the worst value he's ever had in his NHL career. 23 years old, still the same small forward, 5'7", 174, but this season, Caufield's numbers have taken a little bit of a dip. Now, I get it. Oh, what do you mean a dip? He's literally at a career high in points and assists this season, which is true. He's got 55 points in 72 games played. He also has 35 assists, which are both career high numbers. But when you talk about the points per game and the expectations compared to what we had seen last year, the fact that Cole Caufield is only on pace for 23 goals compared to last year where he had 26 goals in half the games does kind of pique a little bit of interest. Now, he is still in a really good assist category. He has a lot more assists this year, but Caufield's overall repertoire and his skill set has not been utilized to the best of his ability. And this graphic pretty much explains what's happening here. Caufield has the lowest shooting percentage this season out of all NHL players who have a minimum of 200 shots on goal. He's got 270 shots, and only 7.4% of them are going in. He's more snake-bitten than Matthew Tkachuk, John Tavares, Nazem Kadri, Tage Thompson, and everybody else in the league who has a minimum of 200 shots. Now, if Caufield could get back up to the shooting percentage he had last year, which via Hockey Reference is a staggering 16.5%, If you apply 16.5% to Caufield's 270 shots this year, he would have been at 45 goals, which is kinda nuts. If he had just sustained that shooting percentage, which admittedly is already pretty high, he could have been at that level, but alas, we'll have to wait a little bit more before Caufield reaches those heights. But the thing is, the fact that Caufield is in this sort of mini slump in terms of his goal scoring, the reason he was valued so highly at the draft in general in 2019 was because of his goal scoring. You could say that because his goal scoring hasn't been good this year, this guy has lost some value, and trading him at this point would be selling an asset at one of the lowest evaluations he has been at in his entire career. Add on a first-round pick, which would be in the 6, 7, 8 range. Maybe you get yourselves a Zayne Parekh or a Berkly Catton or whomever else could be available in the draft. Go check out the Why I Want series of videos if you're a Canadiens fan who wants to see more of the draft content. But the idea of trading away not only just that prospect, but Caufield as well, for what would be Macklin Celebrini, I get it, Celebrini's really good, but I don't know if that's really a move the Canadiens should explore. Now, I do want to make another video later in the week, or maybe we'll make it next week, I'm not too sure. I want to make another video talking about just how underrated Macklin Celebrini really is, because this is somebody whose profile in the NCAA is unheard of. He's 17 years old, he was in the NCAA early because he took accelerated schooling, and this season as an underage player he posted up 61 points in 36 NCAA games. He was playing with Boston University, he was playing with Lane Hutson, who is another Boston name that Canadiens fans cannot seem to keep away from, and there would already be some chemistry there if you really wanted to force it. Now, I get you could say that, oh, Caufield and a first for Celebrini, that's crazy, like I wouldn't even think about it. Honestly, I think about it, I ultimately lean no, because I do think that Caufield has more to show for at the NHL level, and you could probably get yourselves a pretty good player in the 6, 7, 8 range in the draft. But Macklin Celebrini is no joke, and I think when it comes to first overall picks, people have been tainted a little bit the past little while. Oh, Slafkovsky wasn't good right away. Owen Power didn't make the NHL right away. Alexis Lafreniere was bad in his first year. With Connor Bedard changing the narrative on first overall picks actually being capable of being good players right out of the draft, I feel like Macklin Celebrini is going to follow more so in that mold rather than what we've gotten used to with the Lafrenieres and the Owen Powers, and you could even say the Jack Hugheses. Now, Jack Hughes was bad in his first NHL season, but he's really good now. It took him a while to develop. Same could be said about Juraj Slafkovsky, but that's the thing, right? First overall picks, we don't have those immediate sky-high Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby-like expectations like we used to have decades ago. Connor Bedard's changing that. I feel like Celebrini is going to do that as well. It should not be understated how good Macklin Celebrini is, but at the end of the day, I feel like 2 solid assets is probably more valuable for the Montreal Canadiens than one franchise-altering asset. And that's not even to discredit Cole Caufield. I feel like he could become a franchise-defining goal scorer if he continuously puts in 40 goals a year, 40 goals with 30 to 35 assists, maybe even 40 assists, because now he's become a playmaker. Like, if he ends up getting multiple 80, 85, 90-point seasons back-to-back, then you could throw that franchise label onto him, a franchise-defining talent. And whomever else it is you draft at 6 or 7, if it's Berkly Catton, if it's Zeev Buium, if it's Dickinson, these are guys that can be very elite talents. And, you know, it boils down to, would you rather have one 100 out of 100 player, or, let's say at best, 2 85 to 90 out of 100 players? To me, I feel like more depth throughout a team could be very helpful, so I'd probably lean Caufield in the first instead of Celebrini, but at the same time, you have to even think about it like, is the team going to accept Cole Caufield and a first-round pick in the 6, 7, 8 range for the first overall Macklin Celebrini pick? Like, I don't think any team is going to go out there and willingly trade away that first-round pick, or first overall pick, unless you're getting the moon and the stars back. And unfortunately, I don't think Caufield and a first is the moon and the stars. It's like stratosphere level. It's still in the Earth's atmosphere. It's still good, but it's not the moon and the stars, the heaven and the earths, and everything like that in between. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the BPM Sports Talk radio show going out there and progressing the conversation on Canadiens trades. Would you trade Cole Caufield and the Habs' first-round pick this year for the first overall pick to draft Macklin Celebrini? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.